Hari Om every day. So
Namaste,
should
sir.
we? Namaste Shilpa, Namaste Shilpa, Namaste Preeti, Himanshi, Pranam. So let me know when you guys are ready. We'll start the session. So should we start? You have to reveal yourselves.
Yes, sir. I'm just driving back home, so I'll just on
It's
my
fine.
video
It's
while
fine.
I'm
Okay. What about others? Preeti, Himanshi, are you busy doing something else? Shali, we're going to start. So if you want to switch on your cameras, going to do the partner while we're sitting here. ॐ वक्रतुंड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकारेषु सर्वदा वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचारूढमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहे तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहे ॐ शान्तिः Shanti. Shanti. So, where were we last week? Has anybody made any note?
सर आप को भी बात कर रहे थे और सेल्फ रियलाइजेशन को
No, I'm talking about how far did we read the verse 12?
सॉरी सर मेरे पास बुक नहीं है बट आई नो
Not to. What I'll do is, I will read it from the beginning. I know we finished verse 11 and we did read verse 12. My bookmark was here on this page, so I'll read it. So the verse 12 says, Ta Tvevaham jatunasam na tvam neme janadhipa na chaiva na bhavishyama sarve vayamatah param. Which means, it is not that any time in the past, indeed was I not, nor were you, nor these rulers of men. Not verily shall we all ever cease to be thereafter. So this is where the Lord Krishna is pointing the attention of Arjuna to the life principle we call Atma or Brahman, and discussing the idea of reincarnation. So we will read upon it. So the Krishna here declares in unequivocal terms that the embodied self in everyone is set on a pilgrimage or great pilgrimage in which it comes to identify. It meaning the Atma in me comes to identify itself with varied forms temporarily to gain a limited but determined set of experiences. So, two things are mentioned here. Number one, it says every one of us. So, this Atma in you and I identify itself with the Sharir Mana Buddhi, and as a result of it, gains experiences in our life. He says that neither himself nor Arjun nor the great kings of the ages that have assembled in both armies are mere accidental happenings. They do not come from nowhere, and at their death do not become mere non-existent nothingness. Correct philosophical thinking guides man's intellect to the apprehension of the continuity from the past through the present and to the endless future. So what it is saying is that our scriptures are pointing our attention to this philosophical fact that the Atma in all of us, which is one and the same as Brahman, it has been continuing from the infinity. And now it has come to manifest itself in this present body. And upon the death of this body, it will continue to the endless future, which means the continued indestructible nature of Atma is being highlighted here. The spirit remaining the same, it gets seemingly conditioned by the different body equipments, like this body, mind, and intellect, and comes to live through its self-ordained environments. It is this conclusion of the Hindu philosophy that has given us the most satisfactory theory of reincarnation. The most powerful opponent of this idea do not seem to have studiously followed their own scriptures. Christ himself has, if not directly, at least indirectly, proclaimed this doctrine when he told his disciples, John the Baptist was Elijah. Origen, who was the most learned of the Christian fathers, has clearly declared every man received a body for himself according to his deserts in former lives. There was no great thinker in the past who had not, or any in the present who has not accepted expressly or tacitly these logical conclusions about the doctrine of reincarnation. Buddha constantly made references to his previous births. Vigil and Ovid regarded the doctrine as perfectly self evident. Josephus observed that the belief in reincarnation was widely accepted among the Jews of his era. Solomon's Book of Wisdom says to be born in sound body with sound limbs is a reward of the virtues of the past lives. This is what is making reference to the theory of karma. And who does not remember the famous saying of the learned son of Islam who declared, I died out of this stone and I became a plant. I died out of the plant and became an animal. I died out of the animal and I became a man. Why then should I fear to die? When did I grow less by dying? I shall die out of men and shall become an angel. Okay. So in the later times, this most intelligent philosophical belief has been accepted as a doctrine of German philosophers like Goethe, Fichte, Schelling, and Lessing. Among the recent philosophers, Hume, Spencer, and Max Muller have organized this doctrine as incontrovertible. Among the poets of the West also, we find many burnished intellects soaring into the cloudless sky of imagination. Within their poetic flights, they too have intuitively felt the sanctions behind this immortal doctrine. Browning, Rossetti, Tennyson, and Wentworth, to mention but a few names. The incarnation theory is not a mere dream of the philosophers, and the day is not far off when, with the fast developing science of psychology, the West will come to rewrite its scriptures under the sheer weight of observed phenomena. A uncompromising intellect quest for understanding life cannot satisfy itself if it is thwarted at every corner by observed irregularities. It cannot for long ignore them all as mere chances. The prodigy Mozart is a spectacular instance which cannot be explained. To be logical, we must accept the idea of continuity of the embodied souls. This genius wrote sonatas at the age of 4, played in public at the age of 5, and composed his first opera at the age of 7. Without the reincarnation theory, we will have to label this wondrous incident as an accident and throw it into the dustbin of chance and bury it there. Examples are often noticed but rarely recorded as evidence to prove this great theory of reincarnation. The modern world, as I said, has yet to discover the great and the self-evident law of life. Therefore, to uninitiated students, this theory may seem too staggering for quiet appreciation. When Krishna declared that none of them, including himself, Arjuna, and the great kings, even after their deaths on the battlefield, shall cease to exist in future, Arjuna, who was a typical man of the world, could not grasp it as a self-evident fact. His questioning eyes made the Lord explain again this idea through an example in the following stanza. Why do they deserve no grief? For they are eternal in essence, how the Lord says. So, though dehino अस्मिन् अन्यथा देहे कौमार्यं यौवनं जरा तथा देहांत प्रति प्राप्तिर धीरस्तः न मुहति. Just as his body, the embodied soul, passes into childhood, youth, and old age, so also does he passes into another body. The firm man does not grieve at it. So basically, he's saying that body goes through the physiological changes from birth to growth to youth age to maturity to decline, disease, and death. So all these changes or modifications do take place. Okay. But the wise person who knows that he is not the body does not grieve over it, because modifications is a nature of the material or impermanent. Anything which is impermanent must go through these modification and changes. So why do you grieve over it? The day we were born, the birth of the physical body is the certificate of the death, that this body will perish one day, sooner or later. So when we know that this is the very nature of the body, then why do we fear or why do we grieve over it? That is what is being said here. So it is the law of memory that the experiencer and the memorizer must both be the same entity. Then alone can memory power function. I cannot remember any of your experiences, nor can you remember any of my experiences. I can remember my experiences as readily and easily as you can remember your own experiences. In old age, every one of us can remember the main incidents of our own childhood and youth. In the progress of growth, childhood dies away and the youth appears. The youth dies before the old age can assert itself. In the old man, it is the self-evident neither his childhood nor his youth is with him. And yet he can remember his own early days. Applying the principle of memory, it becomes quite clear then that something in us is common in all the different stages of our growth, so that the same entity remembers the experiences gained by it in the past through the childish body and later through the youthful structure. So the attention of the reader is diverted at this evidence that while our body was changing, there is someone in us who is quietly observing and watching each of these stages of my body. Okay? There is a silent witness who has been watching and experiencing all the experiences that I have gained through my childhood all the way to my present day. So my childhood is not there anymore. My youth is not with me anymore. My maturity at the current status, I am with me. But none of those previous stages are there anymore. But I can vividly remember my experiences that I gained during those phases of my life. So who is that silent witness? So we'll continue. Thus, youthfulness may be considered as birth, when childhood has met with its death. So basically, what it's saying is the previous condition goes out of existence. For childhood, for youth to emerge, childhood must die. Just understand it. For youth to come into existence, childhood must perish. If childhood continues, the youth or youthfulness cannot come into existence. So childhood must die to give way to youth. So youth must die to give way to maturity. And maturity must die away to give way to old age. And the old age must die away for death to take place. So the previous stage is dying, the new stage is born. That is how the life is. If you see the life from this perspective, you will most certainly realize there is a witness. There is a silent witness who has been witnessing all these changes and modifications that are taking place in my body. Who is that? Is the question. Who is that silent witness in me who is observing all these various stages of my body? Okay. Using the subjective experience of everyone in the world as a standard of comparison, Krishna is trying to bring home to Arjun the fact that the wise men do not worry when they leave one body for the purpose of taking another one. So think about it. When you are migrating from your childhood to your youth, were you sad? Did you grieve? Did you cry over it? In the same way, when you are shifting away from your youth into your maturity, did you grieve over it? So if you did not grieve over these changes, then why do we grieve over a similar stage of this body called death? Why do we grieve over it? Why do we suffer? Okay. So this stanza is again asserting in unequivocal terms the truth behind reincarnation theory, and thus viewed that death can no more be a threat to a wise man. तो जो एक वाइज व्यक्ति होता है, जो ज्ञानी व्यक्ति होता है, for that person death ceases to become the cause of pain. He just sees it as yet another change that body is going through. So he does not grieve over Tuesday. And thus viewed, the death can no more be a threat to a wise man. We do not mourn the death of childhood, following which alone can we come to experience youth. We are confident in our knowledge that though youth is entered into, the childhood has ended, and there is continuity of existence of the same one only, so that a child has now become a youth. So too, at the moment of death, there is no extinction of the individuality. तो what see, जब आप चाइल्डहुड से यूथ में माइग्रेट करते हैं, yet you move into your youth, from youth to move into mature. So when you are changing from one position to the other position, does your atma or your individuality die with it? Answer is it does not die. So why do we grieve over these changes that body is going through? So too, at the moment of death, there is no extinction of the individuality, but the embodied ego of the dead body leaves its previous structure and according to vasanas, mental impressions that it had gathered during its embodiment, it gets identified with a physical equipment where it can express itself completely and seek its perfect fulfillment. Okay? So there at the end, last paragraph, basically is just giving you another dimension to how uh, things pan out in life. They are saying what you become or what you experience, that experience depends on your vasanas and the desires prompted by those vasanas. So what you become in future depends upon your thoughts and actions in the past. Okay? We move on to verse 14. It says, Matraha Parshastu Konteya Shitoshna Sukha Dukha Agmapaniyo Nitya Tansit Tikshasva Bharata. The contacts of senses with objects, O son of Kunti, which cause heat and cold, pleasure and pain, have a beginning and an end. They are impermanent. Endure them, brave, descended of Bhagavad. Okay. There is another dimension. Is now talking about the experiences that we gain through our sense organs. So he's saying these experiences have a beginning and an end. So anything that is temporary must have a beginning and an end. So when you know something is temporary, why would you grieve over that? So according to accepted theory of perception in Vedanta, an object is perceived by not by the sense organs, but through them. This is very important. And I think we have talked about it, so I'm going to restate this fact one more time. He said, we perceive the objects outside in the world not by our sense organs, but through them. What does that mean? So we don't perceive, so I don't perceive things by my eyes, but I see through them, or I perceive through it. What does it mean? That all sense organs, including mind and intellect, are insentient. They have no life in them of their own. So they are functioning purely because of the Atma or Brahma is pulsating through these equipments. That is the reason. When I is capturing the object or anything for that matter, I does not know what it is looking at. It simply brings the shape, size, and the color. So where this information or sensory stimuli reaches your mind, if there is a already existing data, your mind can recognize this new data and start dealing with it. If it does not, then it will send this data to your intellect. We call it buddhi. So buddhi will check this new stimulus in the light of previous experiences or previous data that it has gathered over millennia, and then try to make sense out of it. Okay, so this is how the system works. So indriyas are instruments through which the perceiving ego gathers the knowledge of the various objects. If the perceiver is not actually contacting the object through the sense organs, the objects as such cannot bring any perception. What is trying to say here? If only your eye is looking at something, and if that data is not reaching your mind, you will have no experience. Do you understand this? You're Himanshi. So you are the only one, so I have to talk to you. That's why people don't switch on their cameras.
Sir,
जी बोलिए.
सर
हाँ.
ये मुझे नहीं समझ में आ रहा है.
क्या? Which one? Tell me. Read it out.
According to the accepted theory of perception in Vedanta, an object is perceived not by the sense organs but through them.
ये समझ में नहीं आया?
नहीं.
अच्छा, इसमें कोई बहुत ज्यादा टेक्निकल चीज नहीं है हिमांशी. इसमें सिंपली ये कह रहा है कि द आईज आर सिंपली द लेंसेज. तो आपको ये, आपने क्या देखा, ये आपको आंख नहीं बताती. आंख जो है, इट इज सिंपली गैदरिंग द डेटा फ्रॉम द आउटसाइड वर्ल्ड. ऑल इट इज कैप्चरिंग इज व्हाट? इट इज कैप्चरिंग शेप, साइज एंड द कलर ऑफ द ऑब्जेक्ट. बट सो दिस इज नॉट परसेप्शन. परसेप्शन जब होता है कि व्हेन यू हैव गिवन असाइनमेंट, यू हैव असाइंड ए मीनिंग टू व्हाट यू हैव कैप्चर्ड. अगर मैंने आपसे कहा कि आपने क्या देखा, आपको मैंने कुछ नहीं देखा, तो इट मीन्स यू हैव नो परसेप्शन ऑफ द सीन. तो दो चीजें होती हैं कि when these eyes bring this data in, mind will, first thing it will do is it will decide what it is. It will define it. So first is the definition.
Process. Mind will process the data.
Mind will process the data. It will define, yeah, this is that's what it is. And then, so intellect will define, because it is the job of the intellect to define things. So buddhi hai, which has the all past data, the huge database of all past experiences, conscious, subconscious, unconscious data. All this data is there in the intellect. So with this new information, when it arrives to the intellect will decide what is it. So if the information already exists in you, then intellect will be able to decide it. और अगर वो डेटा ऑलरेडी आपके अंदर नहीं है, previously gathered in your past life, then even your intellect would not be able to tell you what it is. Then you will wonder, ये है क्या? You say, I'm wondering, I don't know, I've never seen anything like it. So you're wondering. Why? Because you cannot come to a conclusion. You are not able to conclude. And when you have concluded that this is that, then your mind, with the existing information, will also decide whether this is painful or pleasurable. So you decide either this or that. So when you have assigned a meaning and concluded the kind of experience you are going to have from it, That is called perception. This man always makes me angry. That is your perception. This is a horrible man. That is a perception. This is a man. That is reality. But this man makes me angry, or this is a nasty man. That is perception.
Perception.
Perception is you have assigned a meaning to what information went in. So when you assign a meaning to what you are looking at, what you are smelling, what you are hearing, what you are touching, what you are tasting. So these sense organs are becoming raw data in. अभी आपको समझ में आया?
Yes.
So that's why it's saying you do not perceive things or objects through your, by your sense organs. You perceive them through your sense organs. So sense organs are only bringing information. आपके नाक में कोई स्मेल आई, you smelled something. अब जब ये स्मेल आती है तो you can only make two conclusions about it. Is it a fragrance or a क्या बोलते हैं उसको, fragrance का opposite?
Bad
But
odor.
disgust, odor or bad
Smell.
odor.
Bad smell.
Smell or fragrance, right? So that is a conclusion. So this conclusion is your perception. So you say, oh, so and so has a beautiful fragrance to it. अब एक इसमें बात और होती है, ये जितने भी हमारे जो सेंसरी एक्सपीरियंसेस होते हैं ना, you cannot explain them. करके देखो. Explain me what is sweet. When you say something is sweet, how would you explain that to me?
Only with some reference you can explain. Like how fruit is sweet, that is sweet.
But how do I know what does sweet mean?
वो पुरानी कोई कंसेप्ट होगा माइंड में कि मुंह में कुछ रस निकलता है, कुछ something है.
अब जो भी कह लीजिए, रस निकलता है, नहीं निकलता है, जो भी होता है. How would you explain that to me?
Our previous experience will help us.
So use your previous experience and try to help me understand what is sweet.
Through just previous experience, like somebody must have told us that this taste, when you taste this, something like this, it is called sweet. And then the mind has stored that data. And every time you eat that sweet thing, you know that you're eating this sweet thing because that data is stored in your mind.
Then how do you
But you
explain
cannot
it?
explain.
You cannot explain it. That is the
You cannot
point I'm
see it,
arriving.
explain it.
All
Sorry,
sensory
like a blind person also can't explain the difference between a tree trunk or a वो है ना story, elephant trunk and a tree trunk.
Yes, but that is stories about this individual's perception of what is elephant. So
Different
based
parts.
on his experience of the different part that he experienced, his definition of elephant will be determined by that experience, right? But we are talking about something different. So this is indicating at the nature of Brahm. Brahm cannot be explained. It cannot be discussed. You can't explain anybody what is Brahm. तो उसके लिए एक स्टोरी है. I think you will like it. You may have heard of it. That story I have probably mentioned it previously. So this is a story narrated by Gurudev. Probably you would listen to him when we listen to his discourses. So he said he was visited by this friend. He's a guy who lived all his life in a village, very remote village. He was not at all exposed to any developments in the world. So when he came into his room at the ashram, So they kept talking and they start kind of reminiscing all their past experiences when they were growing up, their school days and all that was going on. So Gurudev says, while we were talking, we didn't realize it started to get dark outside. So he said, I stood up, I went to the wall, I switched on the button, the light came. So when this light came on, this rural guy, village fellow, he had a shock of his life because he's never seen light in his life. So he said, what did you do to the wall? He said, you stood up and you went to the wall and there is a light, there is a light in this room. How did you do it? How does it work? He said, well, I didn't do anything. It is just because of the electricity, the light comes on. So I switched on the electricity. He said, what is electricity? He said, it's electricity is the power behind the bulb. When you switch it on, the bulb lights up and it gives you light. So he said, but what is electricity? I said, bloody hell, how do I explain it? He said, I never had experience of electricity, so how do I explain it? So anyway, they kept on talking and some time passed and it is becoming very hot in the room. So Gurudev says, I stood up, I went to the wall, I switched on another button and this fan started to blow air. And now this guy went out of his mind. He said, what are you doing? I said, how is this thing revolving so fast and it giving us a lot of air? What did you do to the wall? He said, nothing. I switched on this button and the fan is, blowing air. He said, no. But how can you didn't even touch the fan. Fan is there up the ceiling and you went to this wall. What did you do? So this guy was, really amazed to witness all these things happening and he could not resist. And he said, no, now you have to explain me. He said, I told you, it is because of the electricity. He said, but what is electricity? He said, okay. I said, the only way I can help him to know what is electricity if he can personally experience electricity. Once he has a direct and personal experience, then he will know what is electricity. So he pulled a stool. He said, stand up the stool. Take the bulb out and put your finger where the bulb was. So this guy did follow the instruction. And as he put his finger into the holder, he had the shock of his life and he fell on the floor. And he could not understand what happened to him. So then Gurudev asked him, explain me what is happening to you. He said, I can't explain. He said, no, what happened to you? Why did you fall? I said, I don't know. Something happened. I had a major shock. And as a result of it, I fell. I said, but how did it happen? I said, I cannot explain. So what happened to you? Why did you? So Gurudev says, I asked him, so he said, okay, if you want to know exactly what happened to me, you repeat what I did. You did what I did. So Gurudev says, I went up this stool and I did exactly what this man did. So I put my finger and I had the shock of my life and I too fell on the floor. So both of us have now the experience of electricity. He has the experience of electricity, so do I, he said. He said, but both of us are still incapable of explaining the experience. Explaining what electricity is. We could talk about what electricity did to us. So we could explain the effect of electricity, but none of us could explain anything about electricity. In the same way, the life force, the life power, the principle, life principle, because of this, presence in the body, mind, and intellects are functioning. It cannot be known directly. You cannot experience it through your sense organs, but you have to subjectively experience it. So even if I have understood Brahman and you have understood Brahman, despite of our exalted position, we still aren't able to explain what is Brahman. You can look at me, I can look at you, both of us have the experience of Brahman. But all we can do is we can shake our head in agreement. Yeah, I know what is Brahman. But I still cannot explain what is Brahman. It cannot be explained. So that is what is hinted at here. So now Gurudev, Lord Krishna is giving small hints here in order for us to begin to appreciate the nature of Brahman. So it says, according to the accepted theory of perception in Vedanta, an object is perceived not by sense organs, but through them. The Indriyas are instruments through which the perceived ego gathers the knowledge of the various objects. If the perceiver is not actually contacting the object through the sense organs, the object as such cannot bring any perception to him. Meaning, in simple words, if whatever your eyes are looking at, if your mind does not attain to that object, you will have no experience of that object. And that happens to us all the time.
Yeah, even to a blind person, he will not be able to perceive the way a person with eyes will.
That's right. And you should evaluate your own experiences every day. And I encourage everybody to reflect on your daily experiences. When you're going from your home to your office, and when you reach at your office, or if you come back to home from your office, if I ask you to make note of as many things as you have perceived on your way, see what happens to you. You may count or recount 10 things, 15 things, 20 things that you witnessed or saw, seen on the road. You may recall certain people, you can recall certain buildings, some hoardings, and few things. And you won't be able to remember the rest of them. Why? You can only recall a conscious memory. If memory is not consciously registered or received in you, then you will not be able to recall it or remember it. So these are all your unconscious memories, and subconscious memories are you have part memory, part remembrance, part forgetfulness. So just because you can only remember 10, 15 or 20 things on your way to the office or way to work, it does not mean that you have not seen the rest of the other things. You have seen all those things. Your eyes is almost like a scan. Your eyes are scanning the physical world outside. But majority of this information that your eyes are capturing are getting stored as memory. But these are unconscious memories, which means you will never be able to recall them. So with this example, you need to know that experience is created not just by the virtue of my sense organs capturing the data from outside. You may smell something, but it will not become your memory unless your mind attends to this smell. Anything that your eyes are looking at, you cannot remember it unless your mind goes into. So, in nutshell, an experience is a result. Whatever is you're experiencing, it's a result of your mind and your mind and your senses working together. So that's what it means when it says it is, if the perceiver is not actually contacting the object through the sense organs. If the perceiver means if the mind does not contact, so whatever your mind is, eyes are looking at, if your mind does not go there, you will have no experience. So that's why, when you feel bad about something, if somebody says something and you feel bad about it, so other person will tell you, don't mind. Do we say it or not every day? Don't mind. Don't mind. Because everybody knows if you mind it, it is going to cause experience and you will be affected accordingly, whether it's a negative experience or a positive experience. Nonetheless, you are the one who will be affected by the experience created by the mind through the sense organs. आपको ये बात समझ में आ रही है? ये बात समझना बड़ा जरूरी है. जो बात व्यक्ति इस बात को समझ लेगा, that person will progress faster on the path of meditation, because he will know that how to capture, control, train, and tame your mind so that you can exercise certain degree of control over your mind, so that your mind does not run out and goes to various sense objects of enchantment. So you can then gain control that though your eyes are open, but your mind is not going there. So you need to develop that degree of control over your mind. So these perceptions are my experiences. So that
It
the
is
same
all about discipline. Like I can get distracted also, but I can at the same time keep concentrating on the task in hand. वो धीरे धीरे डिसिप्लिन ही ऐसे आता है फिर.
तो ये जो माइंड कंट्रोल है इसको डिसिप्लिन ही कहते हैं.
Yep.
Through meditation, all we are trying to do is we're trying to capture, control, train, and tame. CCTT. CCT. Capture, control, train, and tame. अभी क्या होता है कि our mind is without any control of my own. My mind keeps going out, courting with the sense organs and getting attached with anything and everything. So as soon as my mind is going on to all those things, these things are creating experience in me, and I'm suffering the consequences of those experiences. And I don't seem to have any control. So first exercise is dharana. If you want to stop your mind from creating experiences and defining things into binary, the first sadhana, the very foundational sadhana, is called dharana. In dharana, you bring your mind under your control and you try help your mind to focus on your desired object that you want it to be focused on. So you're taming your mind slowly, gradually in the process of dharana. So when you gain that concentration over your mind, the next level of sadhana is to sustain that concentration at will, so that your mind remains attentive on that thought or object that you desire to be focused on. So without your permission, mind will not run around in the universe and keep attaching with things. So that is the real sadhana. So that's what this stanza is helping us to understand when Lord says that if the perceiver is not actually contacting the objects through the sense organs, the object as such cannot bring any perception to him. अगर आप कोई से कुछ कह रहा है and you're not putting your mind to it, it is not going to create any experience or perception in you. Like I use this example, if a dog is barking at you in the street, the reason you don't get affected by the dog is because you do not understand what the dog is talking about. And because you are so conditioned listening to barking dogs, you don't even pay attention to them. And you don't feel bad, you don't feel angry, you don't feel insulted just because a dog barked at you. Why? Because number one, you dealt with this information in a very intelligent manner. And she, I don't know what was I saying. I lost my thought. What was I saying? Can somebody help me? But anyway, it will come back to me. So it says that the same object can give two different types of experience to two different individuals is very well known. भाई एक बंदा एक व्यक्ति है, आपको लगेगा ओ ही इज सो लवली, आई लव हिम. Same person will be an object of hatred by the other person. Somebody can hate this person, the same very person to you love. Okay. So if the object while remaining the same can give different experiences, it is evident that it is because the difference in the mental composition of the individuals. It is also observed that the object of one's intense fancy during a certain stage in one's life become a nuisance to the same individual after a time, for as the time passes the mental constitution of each individual also changes. तो एक तो ये चीज होगी, एक बंदा है, two people can have a two different perception of the same person. दूसरा ये होता है कि एक ही चीज दो डिफरेंट टाइमिंग्स में आपको दो तरह का परसेप्शन दे सकती है. इट डिपेंड्स ऑन हाउ यू कॉन्टेक्ट दैट ऑब्जेक्ट. जैसे अगर आपको लड्डू वाला एग्जांपल याद हो कि इफ यू जस्ट कंज्यूम वन लड्डू, यू विल एंजॉय इट, द टेस्ट, इट विल मेल्ट इन योर माउथ, इट इज हैड दैट स्वीटनेस, एंड देन यू रियली रियली एंजॉय इट. But at another occasion, if your mental condition changes and you lose control over your temptation and you eat 4, 5, 6 laddus in one go, the same laddu will cause a lot of trouble in your pain, in your stomach. It will give you pain. So same object can be perceived differently at two different times depending on the state of mind. Or same object can be viewed differently by two different individuals. One may think it is good, other may think it is bad. So ये एक idea आपको दिया है कि this is what the perception is. Laddu is neither good or bad. The individual is neither good or bad. It is my perception about laddu which gives me sense of pleasure if I had the first experience. If I have the secondary or second experience, then I would have a bad experience of it. In short, it is very clear that the external objects can convey their stimuli and give us an experience only when our mind comes in contact with them. तो जो भी हमारी सेंस ऑर्गन्स इंफॉर्मेशन लेके आती हैं, so we can only have experience only when my mind attends to it. So if you want to become insulated, then you need to train your mind so that you can restrict or restrain your mind attending to whatever your sense organs are bringing in. And if you can successfully achieve that competency of restraining and arresting your mind, not to attend the sense objects, then you will protect yourself from experiencing the experience of things. He says, he who can understand that the objects of the words are in a state of flux, are constantly coming into existence and perishing. Things happen and disappear. They exist and they go out of existence. So objects of the words are in a state of flux, constantly coming into existence and perishing, will not allow himself to be tossed about by the existence or non-existence in the finite thing of the world. In the flood of time, things, incidents, circumstances, and environments flow up to our present form and our present from the unknown future to give us vivid experience of the varied intensity. They, in their very nature, cannot remain permanently, but out of necessity must pass on to become one with the entire past. Nothing can remain the same even for a short period in the world of objects where change alone is the changeless law. Having understood this finite nature of the changeable objects of the world, therein every one of them has a beginning and an end. On no occasion need a wise man despair the least things that are of the things that are not. Heat and cold, success and failure, pain and joy, none of these can be permanent. क्योंकि जो भी ये सब जो duality है, we just listed a few here, these things are not real. Why they are not real? Because they are born out of material. So they start as they must finish. So they're constantly changing. So these experiences again are not real. We may think, oh no, this is real because I'm feeling it. Since every situation of its own nature must keep on changing, it would be foolish of us to get upset at every change. Every change we notice, it is wisdom to suffer them meekly with the comfort and consolation of the knowledge of their finite nature. यानी कहने का मतलब यह कि जैसे आपको किसी चीज से दुख होता है, तो you don't have to kind of beat yourself to death and say why it is happening to me. You should have this knowledge. If I am experiencing pain, it cannot be permanent. It will perish with time or perish with your breath. So hence, if you are having bodily aches and pain, you should not suffer it. So then it says, it is the attitude of the wise to go through life both in joy and sorrow, in success and failure, in pain and joy, with the constant awareness. Even this will pass. Just give me a minute. There's somebody on the door. Sorry. See, so what it is saying is, if you have this clarity in your mind, no matter what the experience may be, good or bad, painful or pleasurable, it can never be permanent. एक बार आपको ये बात समझ में आ जाए ना, समझ में आने से मतलब ये नहीं कि आपको इंग्लिश समझ में नहीं आ रही, इंग्लिश तो आपको समझ में आ गई जो मैंने कहा है, लेकिन समझने का मतलब होता है वंस यू इंटरनलाइज एंड प्रैक्टिस ओवर इट, you will find these moments of pain or moments of pleasure are fleeting and short lived. They can never stay and stare at you forever. They cannot. So that gives you a strength to withstand and let them pass, because they will pass. So that's where it says even this will pass away. So that gives you confidence, courage in the difficult times, particularly to face it with confidence and courage. कि ठीक है, this is a situation, it will pass. It's not going to stay forever. So it's a great consolation. So external world of challenges is finite in as much as it has a beginning and an end. Not only that, Krishna adds, they are impermanent by their very nature. को जितनी भी ग्रॉस एलिमेंट्स हैं संसार के, स्थूल थिंग्स, ठोस थिंग, anything which has a beginning and an end, they are impermanent by their very nature. So if anything starts, it must finish. अगर आपको कोई दुख शुरू हुआ है तो वो खत्म होगा, सुख शुरू हुआ है तो वो भी खत्म होगा, because these are impermanent, because they have a beginning and an end. By the term impermanent used here, the Lord means that the same object which gives pleasure at one moment starts yielding at another moment pain to the experiencer. Impermanent, उसका नेचर परमानेंट नहीं है. किसी चीज से एक पल में खुशी प्राप्त होती है, उसी चीज से दूसरे पल में दुख प्राप्त हो जाता है, तो वो भी परमानेंट नहीं है. द एक्सपीरियंस दैट एन ऑब्जेक्ट कैन गिव यू, इवन दैट इज नॉट परमानेंट. ठीक है जी. तो वी हैव कम टू verse 15. We finished 14 verse. So what we will do is, I will turn my book and keep it away and open it for you guys to talk and discuss for next whatever 15-20 minutes, 15 minutes. So you think I'm just going to close my camera for 2 minutes, not 2 minutes but 1 minute, and then we will talk. So you think over it, and if you have any question you can speak your question while my camera is off. Okay, thank you. No questions? तो ये पूरे उसमें Lord Krishna is basically trying to impress upon this fact that the experiences that we experience, एक तो उन्होंने एक्सपीरियंस क्रिएट कर दिया कि एक्सपीरियंस क्रिएट कैसे होता है. तो एक्सपीरियंस इज क्रिएटेड बाय माई सेल्फ, it is created by my mind, Whenever my mind attends to any stimuli which are brought in by my sense organs, an experience is created. That is number one. And then it says, whatever experiences are created like this by the mind, good or bad, by their very nature, these experiences are short-lived and they will perish. None of the experiences, none of the sensual experiences created by mind can never be permanent. If something is painful, will cease to be pain. Something is pleasure, will cease to be pleasurable. If you like somebody today, tomorrow you may hate that person. Somebody loves you today, tomorrow they will hate you. So all these experiences are impermanent. They're not permanent. So we should not give too much credence to these experiences that we have. We just become silent witness of it because these are all perceptions. It's a mental evaluation of your mind and intellect. It's not the reality. If you think something is painful, that is a wrong understanding. By nature of it, things are neither painful nor pleasurable. This is my perception of that thing, that I believe that so and so thing is painful. By its very nature, it's neither painful nor pleasurable. So we need to have this clarity in our mind. And if we understand this dynamics of how experiences are created, आपको ध्यान होगा when we were doing self-unfoldment, we spent a lot of time trying to understand these dynamics of how experiences are created. And by reflecting over it, contemplating over it on your daily experiences, slowly, gradually, you will become a refiner. And you will gain this competency and have this control over your mind. And this control will help you not to create experiences. So somebody may get angry at you, somebody may hurl abuses, somebody may say bad things about you. So you can just become the silent witness of all that is happening around you without getting affected by it. But that comes with practice. If you practice it, you can begin to gain some degree of control over yourself, your experiences. And these experiences, if they are uncontrolled, if the mind is not working under your control, the mind and the sense organs can create a havoc in your life. They can make this life feel like a hell. Or at the same time, they can also make the life feel like heaven. But heaven and hell, both are impermanent. How long will you stay there will depend on your actions, your karma, your thoughts, your actions. So whenever you let your mind go out and coat with the sense organs, you will continue to have experience. So whatever experiences you are having, that is your own creation. You are creating them by not exercising control over your mind and the sense organs. So long as you remain deprived of this competency, you will continue to create experiences. And if these are negative experiences as you define them to be, then you will suffer the consequence. If you define them to be positive experience and pleasurable experience, then as a consequence of it, you will enjoy it. That's it. तो जो सुख दुख की कुंजी है वो भगवान ने दूसरे चैप्टर के चौथे अध्याय उसमें श्लोक में आपको दे दी. where you are creating this hell in your own life. So if you do not want to experience hell, then you take a concerted effort in training your mind, controlling your mind. That is the key. And if you practice it, life becomes amazingly less complicated. ठीक है जी? तो नेक्स्ट वीक में आप लोग अपने एक्सपीरियंसेस बताइएगा इसी टॉपिक के ऊपर. Try to have, practice conscious living and try not to let your mind engage with things and see how you experience it. And if it helps you, you start making journal, a notebook, and write your experiences. Idea is not about passing and failing at it. Idea is to experience it. When you fail to exercise control on your mind, and when you succeed in exercising control over your mind, what did you experience? How did you experience it? So unless you have this direct experience or practice of it, these kind of things may sound good intellectually, but it's not going to create any change in you. So as we are going along, reading and studying Gita, you should also keep practicing it and creating those experiences for you. ठीक है जी? तो आज की सभा यहीं समाप्त करें. Since you don't have any questions in your mind. शिल्पा के पास एकदम से क्वेश्चन आ गया. जी बोलिए. You're on mute. हाँ, now you're okay.
सर नो क्वेश्चन अभी नहीं आया, मतलब मैं सोच
अच्छा,
रही हूँ जो आपने बताया उस पे, तो आई एम थिंकिंग अबाउट.
एक्सपीरियंस कीजिए. आपने तो एक्सपीरियंस ऑलरेडी कर दिया है ना. अब देखो, जिन चीजों से आपको पहले दिक्कतें परेशानियां हुआ करती थी वो नहीं हो रही हैं, बिकॉज यू आर नॉट माइंडिंग देम, यू आर नॉट
यस
पुटिंग योर माइंड टू इट. तो ये सब बड़े लाइव एक्सपीरियंसेस हैं. तो दिस इज एग्जैक्टली व्हाट लॉर्ड कृष्णा इज टॉकिंग अबाउट. इज एक्सप्लेनिंग यू कि जो भी आपके साथ होता है वो क्यों होता है. इज टॉकिंग अबाउट दिस, द साइकोलॉजी, spiritual psychology, how experiences are created and we believe these experiences to be real while they are not. They are perceptions. लेकिन we confuse जो हमारे body sensations होते हैं based on these experiences, they fool us. See, when you are entertaining a fear, what is happening to you in your body? You might start getting some shivering to your limbs. You might start getting your armpits might get wet. You may have, your fingers, your hand may be tremoring. You may have all these, bodily and physiological, effect that you may experience at your body level. So these physiological changes that occur, these emotions and feelings that, erupt in your body, that makes you become convinced that my experience is real. But actually it is not. It all at its best, it is perception. You are creating it. Accept that you have created it. Accept the fact that it feels like it. Nonetheless, it is not real, it's not true. It is all imagination of your mind. It is the Maya that is making you believe in something that does not exist. मेरी बात समझ में? It's a game that mind plays with us and we fall for it. So wise person will understand this game and do not allow his own mind to play games with him. That is the idea. ठीक है जी, चलिए जी प्रार्थना कर लेते हैं, सेशन समाप्त करते हैं. ओके. ओम कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय हरये परमात्मने प्रणता क्लेशनाशाय गोविंदाय नमो नमः. श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारी, हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेव, हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेव, हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेव. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः. हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः. हरि ओम.
Thank you, sir.